All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Just received some news, if you didn't hear. Shriners Hospital for Children's Open. Brooks Koepka, the number one golfer in the world, is committed to play here in a few weeks, along with Phil Mickelson. So that's great news for the tournament. And certainly we will continue to monitor some of the big names that are going to be playing in the tournament in a few weeks at TPC Summerlin. This is a story. It came out. It's a horrible one. Lacrosse Duke rapist Brock Turner. He rapes a girl on the swimming team and gets 6 months in jail. Now, if this was, you cannot tell me that if this was an African American with no money, that 6 months probably would have turned into 10 years or maybe more. But in America, if you are white and if you have a lot of money, you have a much better chance of leniency than if you are not. That's just the bottom line. It's the bottom line. So we didn't know who the victim was until recently because she just got a book out. Her name is Chanel Miller. And she did an interview for the first time. And Chanel Miller's talking about how this clearly affected her life. So this is Chanel Miller, the victim, speaking for the first time to in an interview to the media, in her own words, talking about how this impacted her life.
You don't know me, but you've been inside me. In newspapers, my name was unconscious, intoxicated woman. I am not just a drunk victim at a frat party found behind a dumpster, while you are the all-American swimmer at a top university, innocent until proven guilty, with so much at stake. You cannot give me back the life I had.
And I apologize. That was actually not an interview. That was her audio book that recently just came out. And I feel for her. It's horrible. I think it's a lot of courage for her to come out and talk about this horrible experience that she's had to go through that, will never leave her the rest of her life, sadly. But, people get really angry, particularly people on the right, when you talk about white privilege, which is clearly out there. Make no mistake about it. Now, could there be reverse racism out there? Sure. When you look at the Duke lacrosse situation that took place years ago, where several of the Duke players were accused of rape, and I believe it was I don't want to use the term hooker, but I guess she was. She was a dancer hooker that was at the party that blatantly lied. She lied, and she said these several lacrosse players raped her. Their lives were ruined forever because of this. And it turned out not to be true, that this woman was lying. So, yes, could it go both ways? Absolutely. And I'm strongly for any woman, while rape and sexual assault is extremely serious, make no mistake about it, if a woman lies, or a man, lies about being sexually assaulted, the crime is just as bad, in my opinion, because you're ruining the reputation of that person forever. Make no mistake about it. But that's not what happened in this case. Again, Brock Turner, white, a lot of money, attended Duke on the lacrosse team, raped this woman.
He was actually a Stanford swimmer.
A Stanford swimmer, correct.
Right.
But he went to Duke. And
no, he went to Stanford.
He went to Stanford. I apologize.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, and another school where you need a lot of money to go there, right? There's no question about that.
Do you think that Donald Trump would have apologized if he made that gaffe?
What do you mean?
If he told the news media that Brock Turner went to Duke and he actually went to Stanford?
Well, no, because Donald Trump doesn't apologize for anything. So,
do you think he would have changed Wikipedia so that it reflected that he actually went to Duke? Do you think he would have gone through and changed his academic records that said he went to Duke?
Is this your attempt at trying to be funny? And when we're talking about rape and sexual assault, your timing is impeccable.
I'm not trying to be funny.
Okay.
I'm just saying, do you think he would have done that?
No, he doesn't apologize for anything.
Exactly.
Why would he? No, no. I don't. To answer your question, I don't believe he would. But again, the point I'm trying to make here is white privilege does exist. I want, in a perfect world, I want everybody on an equal playing field. And I know that's a cliche. I wish we could look at one another not by race or gender or sexuality, that sort of stuff. I wish we could just look at people based on who they are as a person. And Brock Turner, Stanford swimmer, make no mistake about it, he should be in jail right now. And he should be in jail for over a decade. I mean, I don't know what your feelings are on rape, but I think if there's DNA evidence and without a shadow of a doubt that it was rape, 6 months is an atrocity. It's a joke, a sad joke.
Well, yeah, and he wasn't a minor. He was over 18 years old. I believe he was 19 years old. He was convicted of this crime. Regardless of where he comes from or what his social standing is or how much money his family has or the color of his skin, he should do 6 to 12 years minimum. If he actually, and apparently he actually raped this unconscious woman, he should be in prison for an extended period of time. And he should be subjected to rape himself in prison, which is kind of the point of it all.
How sick of a person are you? First of all, rape itself. I mean, I can't even comprehend what goes through somebody's mind when they decide to forcefully have sex with somebody. And if that's not bad enough, to have sex with somebody when they are unconscious. What is going through one's mind when they do something like that?
Well, you have to be very, very insecure in yourself. You have to think that you aren't capable of engaging in sexual activities with somebody unless they are completely intoxicated to the point where they don't have any decision whether to do it or to not to do it. And I think that this 6-month punishment, it enables him to do it again.
Yeah, is he rehabilitated?
Come on. I mean, of course he's a danger. Absolutely, he's a danger. Anyone who has sex with someone who is unconscious is a danger to any woman, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, how could somebody argue that he's rehabilitated, that he's ready to go back out there into society?
Well, you have to think that maybe the judge was friends with his father. Or something along those lines, because the explanation doesn't make any sense. How can you definitively state that he is not a danger to anybody else when he raped a young woman behind a dumpster of all places?
It's awful.
At a frat house.
I just can't even comprehend it.
I mean, that's the type of behavior from a kid who's done this, who's done a lot of things like this over the course of his life, and he's always gotten a slap in the wrist.
Who's to say he hasn't done it before?
Exactly. Who's to say he won't do it again? Who's to say he won't leverage something like Rufalin or something along those lines to do it again? You don't know. He should do a minimum of 6 years in prison.
Why is it that you think so many?
Because he was convicted. You can't. I mean, when you're convicted of something, people talk all the time about how we have Michael Avenatti on our show. Michael Avenatti
will be on our show tomorrow.
He has been charged with a lot of crimes, but he has not been convicted of anything.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets convicted of something, the whole entire narrative changes for us. True or false?
Well, it changes from a standpoint. It depends on what he's charged. It depends on what he's convicted of.
Absolutely. But he hasn't been convicted. This guy, Brock Turner, was convicted of this. The evidence is against him. The evidence proves that he did these things. And therefore, he should spend an extended amount of time in prison until he's like 25 or 26 years old, in my personal opinion.
Why is it that you think there are so many racists out there in general that think that there is nothing such as white privilege, that white privilege does not exist in society, when clearly it does?
Well, in this particular situation, there's something to it, whether it's the color of his skin or the fact that he has money. I think it's more the fact that he has money than the color of his skin.
I think it's
both.
I
think that probably his father or someone he's close to, or maybe the Stanford swimming program, because he was a pretty talented swimmer, by the way. He was banned in 2016 from the Swimming Association, but he was a very talented swimmer. I think all that kind of came together to create this ridiculous 6-month sentence.
Well, I certainly, this is a perfect example of white privilege. Yes, I do believe his skin color could have played a role, and certainly the money that his family has played that role as well. But make no mistake about it, this is disgusting. I feel horrible for this woman. I think what she's doing, coming forward and telling her story, is very courageous. And hopefully it'll give other women the power to be able to come forward and not be ashamed, which I understand why some would be, to come forward if they are, God forbid, the victim of a sexual assault. And all the things that people were saying about this woman, you shouldn't get drunk, you shouldn't be unconscious. Well, you know what? In a perfect world, when you're around people that you don't trust, you probably shouldn't get intoxicated to the point where you're going to pass out. Yes, I agree with that. Does that mean you deserve to be raped? Absolutely not. But there were a lot of people on this kid's defense that were saying, well, she was drunk. Well, how does she know she was raped? She wasn't even conscious. Just so ridiculous. It's just so insane. So I feel for this woman, and I think a lot of people should be proud of her being able to tell her story. I think it's very courageous. But this stuff continues to happen. It's unbelievable. I want to play this gaffe real quick because I thought this was kind of funny. Bernie Sanders, obviously 2020 Democratic candidate for president, he was speaking yesterday. Yeah, in front of a pretty large crowd. And I guess there was a baby that was crying in the background. I want you to hear this audio. He kind of basically, in a nicer terms, tells the baby to shut up.
Did I hear you correctly say that you have to cut your pills in half for your son? Okay. Okay, if we could keep that down a little bit. Okay, thanks.
Excuse me, baby. Excuse me, what do you have, a 6-month-old? Can you keep that down, please, baby? Can you keep that down? It's just Bernie Sanders. He's just weird. He's a weird guy. Who says that in the middle? Who says that in the middle of the speech?
I don't have a huge problem with it. He wasn't mean about it. He was
just the way he said it. Can you keep that down? Keep that down.
Could you keep that down?
It's a baby. What do you mean keep that down?
Yeah, clearly there's nothing he can do about it.
Why can't you?
And obviously his parents can't do anything, or the baby's parents, whether it's female or male, can't do anything about it either.
You know what? I'll give Donald Trump credit for this. If that happened at a Donald Trump rally or something, Trump would have probably said, "Does the baby have a question?" He probably would have made it funny. He would have said something funny.
Yeah, that's probably
Bernie
true.
Sanders isn't really capable of doing that. He
notice,
strikes me as like just a really angry guy.
There is a common denominator here with Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and the fact that they're a little quirky and they lie and they have these gaffes. It's their old, Brian. Right now,
come on, Donald Trump does lies every day.
The face of American politics is about 73 years old and male.
Well, which I don't like.
But that's what I mean. And these gaffes, these guys aren't getting any younger. They're going to get worse and worse and worse. If one of these three, and I think Donald Trump will win the presidency in 2020, it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The distinction between Joe Biden,
the thing with Joe Biden is
Joe Biden, I don't think he intentionally lies. Donald Trump does it every day.
Well, I think Joe Biden's had several strokes. He almost died in 1988.
He's got some health problems.
He's had a lot of health problems.
I don't deny that. But to say,
he had that blood vessel burst in his eye. That's a big deal. That could be a sign of high blood pressure, being under strain, being under stress. That means that he probably isn't fit to get into a high pressure situation.
Well, if you're I don't think Donald Trump is physically fit. I don't think he's obese. He's disgusting looking. I mean, should we attack Donald Trump? I mean, listen, the point I'm trying to make is you're right. Joe Biden is not healthy, clearly. He's up there. But I don't think Joe Biden intentionally goes out of his way to lie, where I feel like Donald Trump does it on a regular basis. That is a huge distinction between the two that I think you have to make.
I think that if Joe Biden wins if he wins the presidency in 2020,
he's not going to.
It's going to be a Manchurian candidate type of situation because he's going to have to. I mean, he's not going to really be able to make a lot of his own decisions. I don't believe that his intellectual prowess is where it needs to be.
Listen, I don't think Joe Biden is the guy up there, and I disagree with a lot of people, including Michael Avenatti. I don't think he's the guy to beat Donald Trump.
I'm excited to talk to him tomorrow about that because he has stood by Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, I disagree with him on that.
On 7 conversations
I've
in a row.
been very consistent with that over the course of the last 6 months. I do not believe – it's not that I don't respect Joe Biden. I think he's a decent man. I respect Joe Biden.
I think he's a decent guy, too.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I could look at Donald Trump and give you thousands of reasons why I think he's just a jerk. He's just a bad guy. I respect Joe Biden. I think he's a good guy. But you're right. I mean, he's up there in age. He's got some health issues. And I don't think he's the guy. I'm telling you right now, if you put up there Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, and you got an African-American woman, you got a gay white man, I think they would have a better chance up there against the president than Joe Biden would. I really feel that way. I really do. And, look, there's a lot of poor candidates.
I just think it's interesting that the leader of the free world in 2024 is likely going to be almost 80 years old.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's good for the country. I think you need some younger people in there.
It's not good for the world in general.
Well, I put Donald Trump in that category as well.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. He's 73.
We need younger people running both parties. I do agree with you there. I think it poses issues when you get people, over the age of 65, and I think it's dangerous for the country.
With how much attention these gaffes are getting now, it's just going to compound itself. Again, They're not getting any younger.
I agree.
They're going to only get older.
I agree.
And so the gaffes are going to get worse and worse and more consistent.
I agree. All right, we got to take a quick break. And when we come back, boy, this is a scare. Kevin Hart, comedian, got into a really serious crash. The 911 call has been released. We'll play that coming up next. You are listening to The Vegas Take.